Welcome to part 2 of our interview, our profile interview with Father Richard Holong of Missionaries of the Poor. Last week, we spoke with him about his early life, the founding of Missionaries of the Poor, and the challenges that he overcame to help thousands of people around the world. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about Missionaries of the Poor and their work today. Today, we're going to be exploring as well another aspect of his life, music, and his reflections on faith and service. And Father, I just want to put into context some of the things that we talked about last week, because we talked about vision, the fact that from very early on, you had this sort of vision of wanting to help the poor, also inculcated in you by your parents and by the service that you saw from people of Christian faith. And then the decision, the planning part of it, the decision to found Missionaries of the Poor in the early days of the organization. And that brings me to want to talking about hard work before we move on to the music, because that's hard work. What you described at the end of last week's program when you talked about going into places like Eventide, cleaning, taking care of people, etc. That requires a lot of hours. It requires, and very often under very difficult circumstances and so forth. What kind of joy does that give you?
Just the fact that I knew I was walking in the footsteps of Christ, and whatever happened to me didn't really matter. I wanted to know that I had replicated his way of living.
Don't get dissuaded at all?
Not at all. I was held up by gunmen, and I just said, "Get out." I said to them, "Get out, you can't frighten me." And I really was not at all frightened about being killed. I just wanted to make sure that nothing would dissuade me from the love of God, and that He's most pleased. And I sense that He's most pleased when I love Him. He said, "I came to preach good news to the poor." That just rang in my mind all the time. And therefore, I must follow it in His footsteps, the Beatitudes. I had been giving quite a bit of talks now about the prison gun court, and also about my life with the poor in the South Side, where there were a lot of shooting, and calling for people to address the outrageous poverty and injustice, and politicians giving out guns and so forth. That had to stop. And I didn't care about my life. I realized that the key was that my life had to speak of Christ. No matter what, if I live, I live. If I die, I die. But I must walk in His footsteps, no matter what. And when I saw people were beginning to hear, and the news, which is so powerful in bringing good news, actually, and changing injustices, began to really pay attention to that one simple statement: you must have justice among the poor. You've got to live out a life of justice, first of all, and then you have also got to call people to a life of justice, no matter what. It didn't matter whether people hate you or love you. It must be done. I followed that track, and my mind was free, my conscience was free. I realized what a terrible sinner I am, it has to be. It has to be, and I wasn't pushing myself enough. But then young men began to come around, and then volunteers began to come around, and Ferdy Mafood came along. And out of that, when Ferdy saw this man whose names was JC, as in Jesus Christ, which was actually Joseph Christie, and Ferdy saw him sleeping on a mattress where the springs were cutting into the back, and he had back sores and worms were coming out and so forth. And Ferdy looked at it and he says, "But this can't be, this is a Jamaican person." my own Jamaican person, and he knelt and he cried. Ferdy cried, and he said, Father, I'll help you. Whatever you do, I will be with you. He says, I can't continue to be a businessman seeking riches and not doing something about it. So Food for the Poor was founded. That was marvelous. So he started Food for the Poor, which also helps us quite a bit. Then my good friend, Father Gregory Ramkissoon, who has now founded Mustard Seed, they're doing wonderful, wonderful work. He was with me, and then he branched off and does this great work on Mustard Seed. And then we have brothers now. Many indicated to me, Father, Haiti is poorer than Jamaica. You got to go to Haiti. So I went to Haiti, and I couldn't resist it, you know. And so we started homes there for the homeless and destitute. And now we're in the old capital and the new capital. Our brothers are there, they're known as the Jamaican brothers. They carry the music with them wherever they go, our songs. And we feed the hungry. We do not charge the poor because they have nothing. We take them in as our own brothers and sisters. And then from there, we went on to India, where we took care of lepers, and still do take care of lepers, north and South India. And then we went from there to
14 other countries.
Philippines, 14 other countries.
Around the world.
Yeah.
A big part
known as the Jamaican brothers.
Around the world.
Around the world.
Massive footprint, a global footprint. I want to talk a little bit about the role of music in all of that. But we have to take our first break on a profile for the second part of our interview with Father Richard Hola. We're back with you after these messages.